Hey everybody, Rory from ANSgear. I've got a DSR Plus on the table right here because I have the Ironmen Pro Kit right here. This is the upgraded parts for the DSR Plus to give you better efficiency, easier maintenance, greater consistency, and improved reliability. So let's get into it. Let's put all these parts into this gun. I'm going to show you how they go into there. It's not that difficult. So we've got new regulator parts right here. Piston, spring, and plate. We've got the new Toolless solenoid assembly. We'll put that in. And then we've got the new back plate or back button, valve spring, bolt tail, solenoid, and locking mechanism on there. So we'll get all those parts installed into the gun. Let's go ahead and take the barrel off. We're going to move these over here to the side, just out of the way a little bit, and then we will get into it. So let's get the grips off. We'll get the bolt out too. I'm just going to put that there for now. There we go. And then get our grips off. So we are going to need to take the frame off. So we do need to pull the front battery door off. So unlock it, and then we can slide that off. Get that out of the way. And then we will need to remove the screws for the grips. So each one has a front screw, each side. We want to make sure we don't lose those. Put that there. There. And then we're going to take the grips off the same way we would take normal sticky grips off. Once that piece has come out, we can grab the top of it, slide it forward, and then grab the bottom and flip it off. And then we can come around to the back and get that side off as well. All right. So then from here, we can take our frame off. Front frame screw. Disconnect this battery. And then rear frame screw. And then from here, a nice little gentle wiggle. And off she comes. All right, so we've got our frame. We're going to set that aside. We can use that later when we are getting into the regulator assembly right there. So the first thing we're going to do is the solenoid retrofit, or whatever you want to call it. You've got two pieces, two like towers, two screws that are going to replace the screws that are on there. And then there's this gasket that we're going to need to put on as well. So the gasket is going to be used to create the positive pressure we need between the frame and the body, so that when you put them together, it really sandwiches it together. It pushes really hard, so that seals the solenoid manifold assembly against the body. The connection between the solenoid and the frame is done by this O-ring right here. We want to make sure we're really pushing, and so this is going to be used basically as a spacer to push that together. So the first thing we need to do is remove the screws that hold the solenoid in right now. All right, so once we've got those 4 screws out, we're going to lift this up. Once we lift the solenoid up, or if we ever lift the solenoid off, we want to make sure that the gasket that's on the bottom right here it stays in its spot, that it doesn't come off or get half out or anything like that. That way, when we go to put it back together, we don't pinch it or crush it. So now, these little towers right here, they have a threaded end, which is down here, and then they have a little O-ring that's on here. The O-ring just helps keep it in place so it doesn't fall, or the solenoid body in place. We're going to take this, we're going to put one down here, and we're just going to thread this in by hand to where it stops. We don't need to tighten it down. We don't need to crank on it. By hand till it stops. Then we're going to put this one in this corner up here. And again, just to where it stops. Don't tighten it. Then we can take this, and it slides right on like that. Now we take our little gasket here, and we're going to put this around there like that. So when we push this frame on, this part of the frame right here, where this little piece that sticks out would normally go inside here and seal, it still does that. But this pushes against this outside section right here, and it sandwiches the solenoid against the frame or against the body, making sure that it makes a good connection right there. So that's it. That's that part right there. I'm going to take these screws. I'm going to put them in there. This makes it real easy if you're ever doing the mech frame conversions or anything like that. It just makes it super simple. Also makes it easy to do maintenance because now you can just literally pop your solenoid on and off. It's not screwed in anymore. All right, so that takes care of that. Let's do the bolt stuff since we've got the bolt here. Well, I probably should. We got to do that part too. So the solenoid spool. We got these pieces out. Let's do this bolt. So let's unscrew the back. So we're going to replace that piece right there. We're going to replace this piece in here with this one. So there is a spring that is up in here, and the spring is what pushes the door out or the latch out. So you want to make sure that you use the spring, otherwise the latch won't pop itself back out. All right, so the spring fits kind of inside. It sits, if I can hold on to it, inside here like this. So we want to make sure that we get it in there before we put the latch in. So that's going to go right up in there. You can see that it's sitting up inside there. The latch, we're going to slide the latch in, and you want to look at the bottom of the latch. So we've got a flat side to the latch right here, and then a beveled side to the latch. The beveled side is going to stick out the bottom, and it's ramped in a certain way that we want to make sure that the ramp is facing towards the gun. So the ramp should face this way. So as you slide it forward against this, it will ride up and over and then lock into place. If you have it the other way around, you've got a nice flat edge and it'll just hit up against the back and it won't move up out of the way and go over. So the ramp needs to be facing the back right here so that it can snap into place. So that's on there. We got that. We can keep that up there. We need to get this part off of here to get this out. All right. So now we can see the difference in spring size right there. And here's our replacement. So that can go in here like that. That can come up here. Spring is definitely different right there. Spring size, very, very different. Now this might be a little hard to get out. Let's pull this apart. I have not tried to take this part out yet. So let's see here. Let's see what I got in my little tool. I need to open this one. I think I'm going to need to hold on to it. Let me just try again. Let me try one more time to try to get this by hand. Don't think I'm going to be able to do it though. Nope. So we want to, there's a flat spot right here. We want to get a flat spot or like a pair of pliers on there. And then we're going to unscrew this piece off and replace it with this piece right here. So this is going to replace this right here. So you know where a razor went, Nick? I'm not going to be able to open this by hand.
No, I think someone took it.
How about a scissor?
Go check my desk.
Maybe just a screwdriver. I got it with the screwdriver.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You got what you need in there?
I think so. Now we're going to get a good grip on that. Now I might not be able to even get this off. Might have to put this in a vise or something. So we might have to pause this video because that is, oh no, I got it. That's real tight on there, but that's okay. You don't want it to come apart. All right, so that comes off of there. Take our new one, put it on. Go all the way into where it stops, and I'm just going to go hand tight right there. Got a much larger spring. Nice. There we go. Put this back together. It's going to go in there, and then we can take this, that on there, put this back together. We want to keep all these pieces together. And then when we put the cap on, we're going to need to push up the latch so that it can fit in there. And then screw that on. And there we go. Got our new latch on the back. We've got our new tail installed. We've got our new spring installed. Got everything done inside there. So the bolt right there, that's all done. Next, our solenoid spool. So we do need to put that in there. I'm going to show you how to put that one in real quick. It's not hard, but you will need a tiny little screwdriver, which I know I have in here somewhere. There we go. Now that we've got our solenoid easily disassembled like that, we're going to unplug it from the front. And we're going to start unscrewing parts off of it. So we need to remove the pilot valve off. So there's two screws that hold the pilot valve on. Those are going to come off. Always make sure that the gasket on the pilot valve stays on there. Next, we've got two more screws that are on this block right here. So we're going to take the screws off. Now there is a little line that they've machined right there. You can see it. That just goes to, it's there to show you what direction or what way to orient the plate when you put it back on. So you don't put it on backwards or upside down. If we slide this off, you'll see that on the other side, if I flipped this over and tried to put it on this way, because you could put the screws in and they would still thread in. You can see those don't line up. That line is here, but it's not on the other side. So this is just there to remind you that that's the direction it goes right there. Make sure that this gasket that's on this block stays there as well. Put that down. And then we can take our spool out. We're going to push it out from this side. Push it this direction. There's our spool out. And then we would want to grease this all up. Install it back in there. Put our plate back on. Thread that in. We take our pilot valve. And again, the pilot valve will only fit on one direction. Don't over tighten that. You can crack the pilot valve. So just make it snug. Before I put my solenoid on, I'm going to plug it back in. It's easier to plug it in sitting out like this than trying to get that wiring to go around and plug in when it's attached. At least that's what I think. There we go. And then I can slide that on like that. Then I want to make sure that that's seated right there. All right, so our spool's in. Everything's done on there. Last thing we need to do is our regulator assembly. So with the regulator, you need to remove the ASA off the gun or the frame. You do that by taking these two screws out. So this one here and this one. And then we can wiggle our ASA and regulator off from here. If you can't unscrew this by hand, not a big deal. There is an Allen key slot on the top right there. You can put your Allen key in and just crack it so that you can get it off. And then you could do it by hand. So in here is our piston. We're going to push out our piston and our spring. So there's the original piston and spring. And then we've also got this plate, this separator plate down here, which we're going to pop off. So these pieces, it goes like this, is what is being replaced with this right here. So we take that out. We take our new plate, it goes in there. We take our piston and spring, put it in there. Make sure all these O-rings, you're greasing them up before you're putting them together. Put that on. Screw that down, and you can just go to where you feel it stop. You don't need to crank on it. Finish that right there. And then we can put this back on. Put our two screws back in. Make sure those are nice and tight. There we go. Take our body and our frame. There we go. Two frame screws here. Remember, we got to put our frame screws in, at least our rear frame screw, before we can put our bolt in. Because if we don't put the frame screw in, the bolt won't. You won't be able to get to it if the bolt's there. There's that. And then we would put this back on here. There. Whenever you're sliding this battery door back on, make sure that, first off, the wiring that sits right here hasn't popped up. Because if you slide this up and just smash it against the top, you'll damage that wiring. And then make sure that that lines up right too. Like that. And we can tighten that down, or lock it down, I should say. And then our grips are going to go back on. And then we put these two screws back in. And there we have it. That's the install of the Ironmen Pro Kit for the DSR Plus. Changing out the regulator, the lock, the tail, the spring, the solenoid, the spool, all those things to give you efficiency, maintenance, consistency, and reliability. Get your DSR up and running at the next level. Put the Ironmen Pro Kit in from ANSgear.com.